really surprise you, but I really want you to be successful in your financial goals, whatever they may be. Whether you're looking to pay off debt, whether you're looking to save a little bit of money for a nest egg or an emergency fund, whether you've got even bigger goals that you want to save money for a deposit on a house, you want to buy a car, or do something even more phenomenal with your money. Whatever it is that you're trying to get control of, I absolutely want you to succeed. It's one of the reasons I started this channel, was to help as many people as I possibly could, to make sure that their financial growth, that their financial freedom was accessible and possible. So in this video, we're going to look at 10 habits that you might want to consider adopting to help you on that road to financial freedom. Some of these are going to be easier than others. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed thinking that's 10, that's quite a lot. You don't need to do all 10 if you're not in that situation, if they're not accessible to you, but absolutely try and pick up at least one or two of these habits, and hopefully these will help you on that road to making sure that you are financially successful. Hi, my name is Samantha and this is the Budget Mum UK. This channel has everything to do with budgeting, financing, saving money, living a great life without having to spend too much cash. I managed to budget my way out of £100,000 worth of debt, and this channel shares lots of those things that I did along the journey to get there, and how I'm now in the position to be saving money, working for myself, having a great life. And I still do it frugally, I still do it carefully, but I absolutely love my life. If that sounds like something that you'd be interested in and you want to know how to save money and have a great life as well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up like icon, and you would be so welcome. First lesson that I think is really accessible to anybody and everybody, but it is also really powerful, is to not compare yourself to other people. Whenever somebody says, look what they've got, look what the neighbours just bought, look what such and such has put on social media and claiming to own and brag about, look at the destination that such and such has just gone to, how incredible, I really wish I could do that. What I'll say to you is, you do not know what their financial situation is. You do not know what it has cost them to get there. You do not know where they have had to split the cost of whatever it is they've just bought over 3, 4, 5, 6 credit cards. It could all be a facade. We're all quite savvy now. We all know that whatever you see on social media isn't necessarily true. I've heard loads of stories about people pretending to be influencers and taking themselves on holidays costing tens of thousands of pounds, getting themselves into a load of debt just so they've got stories for their Instagram posts to make themselves look better than they are. They're selling a lifestyle that isn't real, that isn't relatable, and also that isn't really accessible. One story that I remember from a few years ago is admiring and being almost jealous of a friend who was living in this absolutely gorgeous house. She was always doing all the clubs, all the trips, all the vacations, all of everything, and I really looked and really wanted to be out. 2 years later, her dad was arrested for embezzlement because he was basically siphoning off a load of money from his accountancy firm in order to pay for all this lifestyle that really they couldn't afford. And that lesson has always stuck with me. So from my point of view, you never know what somebody is maintaining or pretending to do, or even legally or illegally doing, in order to look like they actually own or have achieved something. Next up is your wants versus your needs. So 2 very different words, and make sure you're using each of those correctly in any sentence that you say. I really want a new car. I really need a new car. I really want those new shoes. I really need those new shoes. And it suddenly becomes different, has a different meaning. So if you know what your weakness is and you think, I really want another pair of shoes, but actually you've got 10 in your wardrobe, is that the case then that you actually don't need those new pair of shoes? It's just that you want them. And when you're able to flip that switch between want and need, it becomes a lot easier then to be able to say that isn't a suitable purchase. It's going to be something I'm going to rein back on. It's not going to be something I'm going to waste or spend my money on. So your first job right now is to go through your statement, go through your bank statement, maybe of the last 2 months, just because we've had Christmas, so it might not be a genuine kind of a realistic reflection on what your normal month might look like. Grab yourself 2 highlighters. One, you're going to go through and highlight everything that was actual need, the things that you really needed. That's things like council tax, that's things like your utilities, your rent, your mortgage, your petrol, your groceries, whatever those needs are, things that you literally need to stay alive and live comfortably month to month. Then take the other highlighter, highlight everything that you wanted and bought. These are things like the cinema, trips to the theatre, going to the pub, going to restaurants, eating out, takeouts. Highlight them, and it would be really interesting for you to sit down and compare those 2 colours. That visual image immediately in front of you should be really easy to differentiate, and you can then have that non-emotional attachment to say, look at how much I have spent on my wants, how much I have spent on my needs, and if you're in need of a reality check, that is going to be the key point for you, and start to prioritise your needs far more over than your wants. The next thing is to have a separate savings account. So on this channel, I will always do cash stuffing, and I've done savings challenges, and I've talked about how I've managed to save my money and how I've managed to get my way out of over £100,000 worth of debt by doing all these things that I talk about on the channel. However, I'm now in a position where I am saving money. I've got money set to aside for an emergency fund, money set to aside for ISAs and things like that. But what I do is make sure that they've gone into a separate bank account. So I've got two bank accounts that I mainly use. One is my debit account. It comes in and out. I do also have a really good instant savings access account linked to that, which I tend to put most of my money in, that I'm keeping in my account at the start of a month, just so I've got a period of time that I can then drip the interest off of that and then put it straight back into my normal account. I've then got a separate bank account which keeps all my major savings in. So I can also access my ISA, which I don't want to do because I have got 3 options throughout the year to remove money from that, but then I'll get penalised, so I don't want to do that. And I've also got another instant savings account for an emergency fund if I do need to get hold of that really short notice, if my car goes or if my machines go, whatever that might be, my white goods. By having them in a separate account, every time I look at my initial debit account, I'm not always seeing, there is the option now to link the accounts, but I purposely not put them on there, but there is the option then to see that I've only got so much money. That's the money I've got available to spend. If it isn't the cash that I've already got, because if I've put my savings accounts with my current account, then it sort of then becomes in your mind, oh, look how much money I've got, look what I could spend. And it's kind of that mental reminder as well. It's another one of the reasons that I use cash quite a lot, because if I've physically got the cash and I'm handing it over, I'm literally seeing it leaving, I'm literally spending it there and then. Whereas if I've got my debit card and you don't see it and you're tapping away, that's another thing that I find works for me, the cash over the actual physical account. But definitely for savings, keep them in a separate bank account, mind over matter. Don't let them be a temptation for you. Speaking of temptations, that kind of leads us into point 4, which is to avoid your temptations. So if you know you're the kind of person who doesn't like to write a food plan, you want to go to the supermarket, you're just going to buy everything that you fancy on the shelves that you need, but then you're finding that your grocery bill is significantly higher than you would like it, you're spending more money than you need to on food, you've got a lot of food waste at the end of every single week, month, whatever it is, then look at ways around that. You could start to get your food delivered. You could start to do one of the pickup points for your food. So you're ordering online and you're literally, once you get to the supermarket, that is all you're buying. You're just buying that because you're not then going to go, oh, I've come all this way to click and collect, then I need to go in the shop. It's going to avoid that temptation. You might think, yeah, but it's a subscription. I've got to pay so much. I've got to pay £2-3 every time I click and collect, whatever that is. But if you know for a fact that you would go in that store and you would spend another extra 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds that you might not have wanted or intended on spending initially, that smaller cost is going to turn out to be a significantly bigger saving, in fact. If you're the kind of person that knows that you cannot go into the pound shop without actually spending £100, even though you've only intended to go in for a couple of tins of soup or some shampoo, just avoid going in there. Again, make that something that you can order online, or just go in with the set amount of money, which is another one of the great things behind the cash stuffing. You take your purse with you with just a set amount that you know those items are going to cost you. Once you've spent it, you've spent it. And you are not allowed, you've got to have a bit of discipline here. You are not allowed to then just try and shove the rest on your card. Otherwise, that completely defeats the object. You've got to set yourself some boundaries, reduce those things. If your weakness was crisps or chocolate, don't buy them in the house. That's how I buy them. That's how I go. If I had crisps and chocolate in the house, I would eat them. If they're not there, I don't miss them. It's fine. I can live without them and have a great time. It's all good. But it's just finding ways around those, ways that work for you. The next tip would be to automate your life. We are living in a really great digital world where we can pretty much automate everything. So if you have got credit cards, you need to be setting up an automated direct debit every single month for that credit card. That is going to be the ultimate #1 priority, because if you do not, you are penalised, there are penalties, there are consequences. You might lose a great interest rate that you currently have running on there. You're going to get a bill, an extra fine on top of whatever your actual amount is that you are owing anyway. Just get the minimum amount automated. If you can afford then later on to put more towards it, go ahead and do that. But as long as you've got that minimum amount automated on that, that's great. So not only are we automating bills, automating credit cards, but automating utilities, automating everything that you possibly can, direct debit it all the way, then you also need to be automating your savings. So one of the things that I do at the start of every single month is look at my money and then look at who I need to pay, where it's going to go. It's already pre-allocated. How much am I going to need for all my set expenses, but also how much do I need for my fluid expenses? How much am I planning on spending this month for groceries or eating out or going to clubs and things like that? Automate your savings. So as soon as you're paid, that money is getting transferred straight over into those savings accounts that we talked about before, so you don't have a chance to then spend it. Get it all automated and it will save you a fortune in the long run. Number 6 is to earn more money. I have got a couple of videos and I already had a few previous ones on how you can earn extra money on side hustles. There's another one coming out in just a few more days' time. But this is a really good way of boosting your bank account. If you have got a set salary and there's no opportunity for overtime, but you still need more money, you are going to have to find another way to make money. And if there is a side hustle out there that I have not done, I will be amazed, because I have done everything. For example, I've done tutoring. I've done online tutoring, I've done babysitting, I have done the Tupperware shops, I have done the Pampered Chef parties, I have sold everything and anything that I possibly could. I set up my own cleaning business, I clean houses, I walk dogs. I have honestly, in my lifetime, done every possible side hustle and extra way I could to boost my income to get rid of that debt. And if you are in that position, you need to be finding something that works for you. Even if you're not physically able to do something, there are loads of things now in this digital age and world that you can do online to make some extra cash. Lots of videos on YouTube to help you with that, and like I said, I've got another one coming out in a few days' time to help you with this as well. Do a bit of research and you'll find something that works for you. The next thing is lifestyle creep. So if, like me, you've been in a position where you owe thousands and you start to pay it off, or suddenly you might get a windfall or start to earn more money and suddenly your free money, your available money goes up, it can become really tempting to then spend that money. But if you are used to living a lifestyle on a reduced amount of money and paying off money here, there and everywhere, it would be really foolish to then go out and take that money and spend it frivolously on things that previously you hadn't needed, previously you'd gotten by without. You need to be able to have a bit of restriction and go, well, I wasn't expecting that money. I've just had a tax rebate. I wasn't expecting that money. It's been my birthday, it's been Christmas. My auntie, my uncle, my great grandma, my long lost Uncle John has sent me £50, £100. Instead of spending that going out to get some food on a takeaway or spending it on a pair of shoes or a coat or whatever you actually didn't need, why not either invest it in yourself, do some education, or invest it in some part of new side hustle, some side business that you want to do. Put it in the bank, let it start working, get some savings. You didn't need it. Don't start to spend it just because it's there. Become confident and comfortable in the money that you are used to having, rather than suddenly spending unnecessarily, because you'll end up falling back into those pitfalls. You'll become used to being able to spend that extra money that actually isn't always going to be there. Which kind of leads us into the next point, which is to pay yourself an allowance. Now, if you have sat down and you've looked at your numbers every single month, you will have known how much you've got going out and how much you've got coming in. And you'll know how much you've allocated for your groceries, or for your spending on your family, or for your travel, your petrol money, your car, whatever that might be. And if there is any money left, you might say, do you know what, there's an extra £20 here. I'm going to use that as my allowance, my pocket money, my whatever I want it to be. Spending time for me. That's what I tend to call mine. Time for me. If you are used to being able to live on that money, keep to that money. As soon as you paid off those debts, keep to that amount, because you'll find that it's, again, sort of backing off on the last one. If you spend more money that you didn't need to spend previously, you're going to find yourself back in the same vicious cycle time and time again. Keep it low as possible for as long as you can. You spent all those years living on a small amount and you've gone without lots of things for a long, long time, and you've still managed it. You've survived it. You've got to the end of it. Don't spoil it now by overspending suddenly. Keep to an allowance. If for whatever reason, say you win the lottery, or say you've got double your wages somehow, amazing, then yeah, sit down and reevaluate it and say, do you know what, maybe I'm going to give myself £40 this month. Make it a conscious thought, make it a decision that's based off of all the experiences that you've had and all the things that you want to avoid going forward. The next thing is to think about your why, but your why as in not why do you live the lifestyle, but why do you need something. So if you suddenly go out and you think, I need a pair of trainers, I need a new coat, but actually you've got 5 coats at home, but is it because that coat does something specifically that none of your other coats do? Maybe it's designed for going hiking and you've been hiking for a while and your other coats are just not suitable, it's not the right weight, it's not the right viscosity, whatever it is, and actually then that might be a sensible purchase, it might be a sensible buy. Knowing why, explain to yourself and justify why. Do you need another jumper when you've already got 3 cream jumpers at home, but this cream jumper has got a scallop neckline? I don't know. Is that a reason to justify it? If you can ask yourself why and genuinely justify to yourself why you are buying something, does it fit into a new need, not a want that you've got, then okay, evaluate it. And is it worth the actual cost, or can you find it cheaper somewhere else? Revisit it the next day. Are you still needing that item? And if it's a yes and you can afford it, maybe it's worth it. If it's a no, you don't need to buy it. And the final thing to note is that you can have anything, but you can't have everything. Basically means that just because somebody's got something else doesn't mean that you need to buy it as well. Just because you've got space in your home doesn't mean that you need to go and fill that corner with something else. Just because you've got a blank wall doesn't mean that you need to go and put a new picture on it, or a new painting, a new piece of artwork. Be mindful of everything that you're buying. Just because you've got the funds there, or suddenly because you've got that money there, doesn't mean that you actually need it. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. If you've liked everything you've seen on this video so far, I would love it if you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up like button, give us a follow, join us on here. We've got loads of videos just like this one coming up. Have yourself an amazing day, and I'll see you really soon.